What's the weirdest time a patient diagnosed themselves and was right? I work the night shift at urgent care, and let me tell you, we get some real characters rolling through at 2 a.m. But Gary was different. This 62-year-old plumber shuffled in around midnight looking like death warmed over. His balance was all messed up, kept bumping into chairs and grabbing the wall. He kept licking his lips and making this face like he'd been sucking on pennies all day. "Doc, I got this metallic taste that won't go away," Gary said, gripping the exam table. "My head's been pounding for 3 days, and I can barely walk straight without falling over." Dr. Patterson, the attending that night, barely looked up from his clipboard. "Sounds like vertigo. How's your blood sugar been? You diabetic?" Gary shook his head. "Listen, I've been working with copper pipes for 40 years. I know what metal tastes like. This ain't normal. Something's leaking into my brain." Patterson actually laughed. "Sir, your brain doesn't leak metal. Let's run some basic labs and get you sorted out." But Gary wasn't backing down. He kept touching the back of his head, right at the base of his skull. "There's something off back here, like pressure, like something's eating through." The nurses were rolling their eyes. Another hypochondriac with Google symptoms. Patterson ordered the standard workup. Glucose, CBC, basic metabolic panel. Everything came back normal. "See? Just dehydration and probably some inner ear issue," Patterson said, writing a prescription for motion sickness meds. Gary stood up slow, still wobbly. "Doc, I'm telling you, this feels like when I used to work on houses with bad plumbing. You know that smell when bacteria gets in stagnant water? I can taste it." That made Patterson pause. "What kind of houses?" "Old foreclosures. Pipes backed up for months. Black mold. Standing water in basements. Had to tear out whole sections sometimes." Gary winced, pressing his palm against his neck. "Please, something's wrong in the back of my head. Can you just check?" Patterson sighed and ordered a basic CT scan. When it came back clean, he started walking toward the door. But Gary grabbed his arm. "Doc, I'm begging you, do a spinal tap. Something's in there." "Sir, your CT is normal. There's no indication for—" "I can taste bacteria," Gary cut him off. 40 years of plumbing. I know what I'm tasting." Maybe it was the desperation in Gary's voice. Or maybe Patterson just wanted to shut him up, but he agreed. "Fine, but when this comes back normal, you're going home." 20 minutes later, the nurse came running back with the lab results. Patterson's face went white as he read them. The spinal fluid was cloudy, not just a little off, full-on infected. They rushed Gary for emergency imaging, this time with contrast. That's when they found it. A rare strain of bacteria had been slowly eating through the bone at the base of his skull. His chronic sinus infection, the kind that builds up in old houses with bad ventilation, had been festering for months. The bacteria matched exactly what you'd find in stagnant water systems. The infection had eroded through his sinus wall and was literally dripping into his brain cavity. Another 12 hours, and Gary would have been dead. Dr. Patterson came back to Gary's room around sunrise, looking like he'd seen a ghost. Gary was hooked up to IV antibiotics, finally stable. "How did you know?" Patterson asked. Gary managed a weak smile. "Told you, Doc. 40 years of fixing other people's messes. You learn to recognize when something's rotting from the inside out." The next morning, Patterson wrote, "Listen to Gary," on the whiteboard in the break room. It stayed there for 3 months, until some new resident erased it. But everybody who worked that night shift remembered.